things I think while I lie awake and contemplate tonight are wearing me out. Well, maybe tomorrow the world will wake and get it right, but I have my doubts, yeah. During the day, well, I design machines of war that scream through the sky. 'Cause I, for one, I like to go to bed free at night under these stars and stripes. And I have my doubts that we're coming out. Yes, I have my doubts, and I have my doubts that we'll make it back out. Yes, I have my doubts, but they'll wind you up and pull the cord until you're spun right out. And I don't understand. Roll the dice and raise the price to feed the machine's mouth. Call it the progress of man. And I have my doubts that we're coming out. Yes, I have my doubts. And I have my doubts that we'll make it back out. I have my doubts, so I'll drink my stuff and raise some hell and shoot my guns to the end of my time. You can have the booze and go to hell and take the guns, but I know they won't be mine. We're coming out. Yes, I have my doubts, and I have my doubts that we'll make it back up. Yes, I have my doubts. So we're all messed up and out of touch. Let's text someone who's in the other room. So don't wonder why we don't say hi or know anyone. I might as well move to the moon. So maybe I'm wrong. Well, I hope that I'm wrong. So maybe I'm wrong. Well, I hope that I'm wrong. Well, the things I think while I lie awake and contemplate at night are wearing me out.
Good evening. I hope everybody's doing well tonight. I'm gonna apologize in advance because I may have issues with coughing tonight. I'm not saying I will, but it's a pretty good possibility. So I want to apologize in advance. I will mute the mic if I'm gonna have a bad cough coming. So what had happened was I went up in the attic this morning, or not this morning, this afternoon, and installed that television antenna. And I guess possibly it was the insulation. I don't know. Ever since I came back down, it's been hell to breathe. Just constant crap in my throat. I'm thinking the insulation tore the hell out of me, so I'll be all right. But it is what it is. Anything other than that, I can't think of any updates really. I got a project video I'll be doing in probably, well, I'll probably do it this with my time off. Hell, I might do it tomorrow. Might shoot it tomorrow anyway. I've got a replacement USB port for my Rock Pals. I hate calling them solar generators, power bank, battery bank, whatever you want to call it, except solar generator. So anyway, I way back maybe 2 years ago, we had set up the tent to camp and stuff in it, and my big foot hit the USB cable when it was plugged into it and broke the plastic piece in the USB port. So I have to replace that, and so I got a set of ports. There are, several different types of ports. One of them should be the identical port, because it should pretty well cover the main ports, the little kit I got. So that way I can replace that port, and I'm going to do a video of it and show you guys how I do a simple electronics repair on a circuit board. It's not going to be a surface mount for those that are a little more inclined. It's going to be a through hole, not a surface mount, so it's not going to be anything too crazy. I think that's about all the updates I know to tell you about. Got an interesting topic to talk about. Hang on, let me clear my throat before we do. This stuff sucks. So, there's some information making its rounds today. And I've seen several different channels that's talked about it. And to be honest, out of the different channels that I've seen that's talked about it, it's been a fair amount of them seem to have talked about it in kind of a positive light, as in, this is a green light kind of thing. And I would say not so fast. Now, Dabu, I think he actually did a pretty good report on it, although I wasn't a fan of how he titled his video. Very misleading, and how he titled it versus what he said. And I'm not saying that he was trying to be, I don't know why he titled it that way, but he gave it kind of a hopeful title, but yet he actually read the information and understood that there's some caveats here. And so I want to talk about that. Now, I know that Southern Pepper 1 also made a video, and he was one of them that seemed pretty upbeat, and says he's got, and I'm sure he's probably got some information to give folks. I don't know if it's going to be that easy. I don't know that it's going to be that easy. I'm going to break it down and I'm going to explain it to you. Now, before I even get started, I have got 0 days in the military. 0. But let's just say I'm very familiar with rank and structure and high ranks and commands. Military is not the only cats that know about that. I think that the article that Zero Hedge put out on the subject pretty well laid it out on the table. Now, that being said, I want to say what I was just talking about, I forgot to mention. Being that I have not served in the military, there's clearly 1,000,001 things that I have no clue about when it comes to the military. So I implore anyone that has been in the military, if I get any of this wrong, please comment and let me know. Because I'm not saying I know everything, but I have a fairly good idea how this shakes out. So let's let me bring you up here because we need to kind of take a peek at the article. All right, and I just pulled up the article on Zero Hedge. I know they've got pretty much copies on other places as well. Their headline is Pentagon says service members can request exemptions from COVID-19 vaccine mandate. That is a fact. They can request. Not a problem, they can request. It's what comes after that where things get a bit sticky. So let me just read, and I'll cut in and tell you what I have an understanding of. And again, if I'm wrong, and if by chance Southern Pepper 1 sees this, and if I'm wrong about something, please call me out and explain it. U.S. military service members will be allowed to seek an exemption from the soon-to-be mandated COVID-19 vaccines, which would be determined by individual military service regulations, a Pentagon spokesperson said. There's a religious exemption possibility for any mandatory vaccine, and there's a process that we go through to counsel the individual both from a medical and a command perspective about using religious exemption, Pentagon Press Secretary John Kirby said during a press briefing on August 10th. Now, this we really need to break down. Number one, counsel to a civilian means something entirely different than what it means in the military. Counsel in the military is, I would say, much more aligned with the legal version of counsel, right? If we go for counsel, it's advice, right? If as a civilian, a citizen goes for counsel, it's just advice, right? If you go get counseled by a lawyer about whatever, that's advice, okay? When the military counsels people, it's more along the lines of being voluntold, okay? Much more along the lines of being voluntold. And that is my understanding of it. Counsel in there is essentially, they're basically telling you how you're thinking wrong. So, with that understanding, not only is a medical professional going to be present, but someone from command, a command perspective, right? A superior officer. Folks, this is a rope-a-dope. Sure, they can request it, but they're going to be highly, highly, highly advised against it. Highly. Now again, I may be wrong. I know Southern Pepper 1 says that there's a way that they could possibly get, like an honorable discharge or... That may have been how things worked, like when he was in or when my older brother was in. That might have been how things went then, but things aren't the same anymore. My concern goes even beyond, dishonorable discharge. My concern goes to, could it turn into possible court-martial? I mean, if they are ordered to take the vaccine and they refuse to take it, could that lead to court-martial? These are just things that I think it's important for people to talk about and to throw around. I wouldn't just run and say that because they've got, religious exemption, they've got medical exemptions. It says right in this article, even in just this article alone, okay, the department would make sure that every individual with reservations gets proper counseling on COVID-19 vaccine safety and efficacy, Kirby said. Both a medical professional and a commander would counsel the individual about the risks of not being vaccinated and how that might affect deployability, assignments, travel, teammates, and the mission. You know what that sounds like to me? The whole gambit of excuses is just, well, we don't have any use for you. When there's nothing, we have no use for you now because you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't be around other people. That's what I see being laid out here. I'm not seeing a true opportunity out here. I'm seeing a rope-a-dope. Says we take freedom of religion and worship seriously in the military. It's one of the things that we sign up to defend, Kirby said, and it's something that's done very carefully. Service members, that's who Roy Potter, I guess, just went on. That's who I would like to hear chime in on this. We take freedom of religion and worship seriously in the military. It's one of the things that we sign up to defend, Kirby said, and so it's something that's done very carefully. Service members also will be able to apply for medical exemptions, Kirby said. The primary care physician will be able to help make that determination, he added. A service member can't request an exemption just because he or she doesn't want to take the vaccine, Kirby said. Pardon me. You've got to go through a process to get that approved. That's what I was saying. Troops who have pre-existing medical conditions or on the advice of their physician might not have to take the vaccine. But if you're just objecting because you're objecting, once it becomes mandatory, that's a lawful order. It just says it right there. It's a lawful order. And our expectation is that you're going to obey that order. They mincing words here? I don't think so. And I firmly believe that you're going to have men and women lining up in droves to sign up for either a medical or a religious. I have a feeling you're going to see more go for the religious. Just my assumption. I'm just guessing on that. It's not going to take very long before they make an example out of somebody. So then that way they can look down the line at all the others lined up. Say, next. After somebody gets nailed for defying a lawful order. I don't think that their exemption program is much really of an exemption program. Again, it may have been different at a different time, but there is a different military now. Obama purged all of the top brass that had some brass. Obama got rid of them all. And then right now, Biden's working on getting rid of any other military members, the service members that got brass. And then, what's this gonna do? Weed out the rest? Let's see. It says nobody is looking for a strong Uh, Nobody's looking for strong punitive disciplinary measures here. Frankly, we believe that most troops will respond positively to the order, just like they do in every other mission critical order that they've issued. But there are tools available to commanders short of disciplinary action to try to get soldiers to do the right thing. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin announced on August 9th that the Department of Defense would require all active duty military members to get a COVID-19 vaccine. I want you to know that I will seek the President's approval to make the vaccines mandatory no later than mid-September or immediately upon the U.S. Food and Drug Administration licensure, whichever comes first, Austin said in a memo sent to all Pentagon employees. Currently, the 3 COVID-19 vaccines in the United States, Pfizer, Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson, are all being distributed under emergency use authorization. Austin didn't mention the possible exemptions, and a Pentagon spokesperson declined to answer at the time. President Joe Biden expressed his support for the mandate almost immediately. Well, of course he did. I strongly support Secretary Austin's message to the force today on the Department of Defense plan to add COVID-19 vaccine to the list of required vaccinations for our service members not later than mid-September, Biden said in a statement. These vaccines will save lives, period. They are safe, they are effective. Over 350 million shots have been given to the United States alone. And according to the Pentagon, more than 73% of active duty military members have received at least one shot of the vaccine to date. And on that percentage, that might be right. I kind of doubt the national number that we're given here. The 350 million shots have been given in the United States as a whole. But I do believe that, there's a much higher percentage of the military. And I've said that before. I do believe there's a much higher percentage of the military because, like I've said, this in reality is something that the military just does, right? People know before they can go be deployed in this place or that place or that place that they're going to have to get vaccinations. And frankly, those vaccinations, as far as I know, are a good idea. A really good idea. Not all vaccines are bad. All right, there are good vaccines. But I have concerns with this one. And that's fine. Anybody tells you that if you got concerns over anything, that it's not okay, then you need to question their motives. And there are a lot of concerns about this, and we're not allowed to voice them because we get shut down. Big Family Homestead. They just got nailed. And it was a Patreon video that they did, so it was unlisted on YouTube, and sure enough, bam, they got nailed. Now, I didn't see the video. They say that all they did was claim the CDC numbers, and that's all you have to do. And my advice to other content creators out there is stop doing that. Stop stating the numbers. Don't do that. You can walk all around the subject and get every point out that you need to get without having to cite certain numbers, without having to do all that. You can give the links out to people so that they can go look at it themselves, and you can walk all around it. Just don't give out the direct information. And the reason why is because you're right. And that's why they have to silence you. Because you're right. I mean, I didn't see Big Family Homestead's video, so I can't sit here and say that I 100% know everything they said is true, blah, blah, blah. But from their content on YouTube, I don't know that I believe that they got far out there on Patreon. So, I know a lot of others that, well, quite frankly, get a lot further out there on YouTube. But when it comes to this COVID stuff and people getting their channels nixed or getting strikes and stuff like that, let me explain something. There are channels that have been talking about this since it's been a thing. They have not gotten a single strike and perfectly clearly got their message across. We're one of them. We're one of them. How about Peak Prosperity? Peak Prosperity has really gotten down to the nitty-gritty. They haven't been nixed. They're not ghosted. Why? Because you have to really know what you're doing from a medical standpoint to be able to approach this. So that if YouTube slaps you with medical misinformation, and the other thing it takes is money, you can sue. And I guarantee you, if YouTube would slap Peak Prosperity with medical misinformation, they would have such a damn lawsuit in a heartbeat. But see, most of us, we don't have the ability to do that. You know, as far as that kind of money. So just kind of walk around it without necessarily stomping on that target. You'll still get your message across and you'll keep your channel. So, it's trying to help. Back to this. I really do feel that this is going to have a very detrimental effect on the military, in a time to where we really, that's the last thing we need. On many fronts. Not only is, if I'm not mistaken, membership is down quite a bit in the military, like drastically, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think that they doing real well recruiting. Again, I could be wrong, but that's been my understanding. There's a lot of uncertainty when it comes to, in my opinion, with the youth of today and the thought of joining the military. It's just not, you know, maybe you take too much of the boy and the man out and it has that effect, you think? I think. So our numbers, from my understanding, both recruitment and active duty, are down from what they have been, let's say across 3 decades, 30 years. My concern is how this is going to affect that. We'll see. It may not be a thing. If more than 73% have already gotten at least one, then it may not be quite that big of a big deal. Unless a fair amount of those want to decline getting a second. I don't know. my whole point of discussing this, and I'm going to wrap it up because not a lot more to say on it, is it seems like there's a lot of hope out there being spread. And from my understanding of how this process works, it's a rope-a-dope. You know, if the government wanted to give them an out, yeah, they could use this to get an out. At the same time, if the government didn't want to give them an out, you know, they reserve the right to not give them that out. So, we'll see. I know that I know that this was said here. Nobody is looking for strong punitive disciplinary measures here. But I don't trust a word they say. I don't trust a word they say. And I do think that if there is a number of people that line up to opt out, that they're going to look to make an example. Because they like doing that. Kind of part of their training. But it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And like I say, we don't. One second. We really don't need to have more problems as far as that area, military. Like I say, it's just kind of one of those things. I don't think we've likely got a bunch of equipment that is expendable at this point. I mean, in other words, we tore up a lot of crap over in the desert. And I'm sure there's a lot of stuff that could use building some supplies on, replenishing, repairing, and all that good stuff. That's another area that concerns me, is the state of our military and the readiness in all ways, whether it be morale, psychological, even physical. I'm concerned. There's a lot of things that's been changed, a lot of requirements that's been lightened or even disregarded. None of this stuff is good when it comes to military. You want them folks to be badass. Okay? You want them to be able to, be offended without, going into a rage or cry. Yeah, I really think a woke military is not a good plan, but that's a different subject. They need to stop with this mandate stuff. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I wanted to cover that. Not that I'm trying to yank anybody anyway as far as any of the other creators that's done videos and stuff. But I just wanted to put out there what my understanding of how this works. And again, if somebody knows, or Southern Prepper 1, either one, anybody knows how that would be any different than what I was explaining by them filling out that paperwork and going through that process, because I'm pretty sure that is the process that what Southern Prepper 1 was talking about, I think, is that process that I spoke of. And that is not going to be a way out. Not for most. You better be able to damn well prove some stuff. And then they're either going to make things so hard for you that you want to quit, or, who knows. And I'm saying the people that can come up with a violent... Okay, let's say, there's... I don't know if it's in there or not, but there's people saying that there's, I guess it's, aborted baby I guess it'd be embryo. I'm not sure. That's in the vaccine. Now, I can't personally confirm this. I'm saying that there are individuals that say that. If that's the case, then most certainly there would be religious exemption from taking that. Or if it had something from, say swine in it, or, okay. So, let's say that's the deal. And you decline, and they let you decline because you have a history of being this particular religion or whatever, then they're going to just make stuff so hard on you that you quit. Period. And if you just up and quit, you're going to have, I don't know if you'll get any of your benefits if you just up and quit. And that's what I'm saying. And, we'll see how this plays out. But I wanted to put my 2 cents in on that. My largest concern with it all, to be honest, is that folks would hear that news, hear that information, and take a sigh and turn their back, right? Not intentionally ignoring it, but just thinking that it was dealt with and taken care of and over, even though it's not. That's my biggest concern overall. So just keep your eye on it, see what happens with it, remain engaged with it. That's the biggest takeaway from this. Keep your eye on it and remain engaged with it. Nobody should be forced to take this. Not a single human being. Not this. Not this. There's a lot of good vaccines for a lot of good causes. I'm not saying that all vaccines are bad. I'm not anti-vax. I want to make that clear, because I'm not. I don't think kids should be pummeled with a ton of vaccines from birth on up through school. I'm not down with that. But things like polio and stuff like that, it is what it is. And I know that initially that there were issues with some polio vaccines and stuff like that, and there was a lot of, I get that. They figured that out. They took care of that. And I'm not saying that nobody gets harmed by polio vaccines today. I couldn't tell you the numbers because I have no clue. Plus, I wouldn't anyway because, well, we're not allowed to do that. Even if we directly show you, we're not allowed to do that. It's ridiculous. But I would venture to say that the polio vaccine a hell of a lot more good than it does bad. And I could be wrong. I'm no doctor. But there are, in my opinion, good ones. Just not, like I say, when you get 10 million kinds at one shot and all that as a child, I don't think that's such a good idea. And I don't think something whipped up in Joe Bob's garage and rushed out to the world. I'm kidding. I don't think it's a good idea. I just think that it's way too soon to be even at the point to what they are with it. So, but, hey, I'm all about choice. And like I've said, anybody that wants to shoot themselves up with it, I'll support you. I'm not going to tell you you can't. It's not my place to tell you you can't. Just like it's not your place to tell me that I have to. Plain and simple. End of story. I mean, just the way it is. Not going to prevent anybody else. But I damn sure ain't going to. It is what it is. Let me have a sip of tea here. And we'll hop to headlines and get out of here for the week. I am feeling kind of rough after coughing all afternoon and evening. Like I said, I think it's the insulation that got me. I will say, the mission was a success, and I'm impressed with that thing. It's not like an expensive antenna or not, and it's a relatively cheap one. Not as cheap as our previous one we had at the other place, but it was one of those like little plastic flat, almost placemat looking things. Yeah, those suck. This one's more of an antenna looking thing, and I put it up on the inside in the attic. Yikes, lightning. And it captured 38 channels, so I'm happy. So, and then this TV in here, since it's a Roku TV, when it does that, and I didn't know it did this, that's really cool. It also brings in a bunch of streaming channels. So you don't just have the 38 over-the-air channels, you also have, I mean, it goes up real far for the streaming channels, which, of course, that's not why I did that. I essentially wanted to be able to get over-the-air broadcast, just in case, you know, something just happens to the internet or what have you, and that's the only way that they're putting out official information is either TV or radio, and I would much rather be able to have TV over radio, because they say, you know, a picture is worth 1,000 words. Well, then I would say video is worth millions. So to be able to maybe see what might be going on, or what they are telling us is going on, could be important. So that's why I highly recommend it. That's why I made that video. I do think it's important that people have the ability to get those types of information over the air broadcast, whether, you know, preferably both TV and radio. So, and of course shortwave and all that other good stuff too. But that basis, that television and radio, those two things are going to be, if there is a major event, like say grid down or what have you, or internet's down, those are the avenues I think that you're going to see them take to give people official information. I get it that it's like Twitter now, but I have a feeling that they're going to be taken to the air, whether it be radio or TV, in either one of those instances. So you got to understand, they can get up with generators and stuff like that, but like all these towers, all this other stuff is going to be down. So the internet's just not going to be a thing. Just not going to be a thing. And that's, you know, I'm speaking like if the power grid's down, the internet is not going to be a thing. If there's a widespread grid down, there won't be internet, because you got tons and tons of computers everywhere. They all work together to bring that to you. So you go breaking a bunch of those links, and it ain't gonna work. But they're gonna be able to put out TV and radio broadcasts, because your television stations, your radio stations, a lot of them's gonna have generators, so they'll be able to fire up. So that's why it's important to do that. But man, I'll tell you what, between the heat and that insulation, it tore me a new one. Alright. Okay, Senator Rand Paul accused of insider trading after he belatedly reveals wife invested in pharma firm in early days of COVID-19. And you better bet that they're going to be going after Rand Paul like everything they can. Better believe it. Sydney may call in extra troops to enforce lockdown as Australia's capital extends restrictions after one case reported. U.S. lawmakers move to rein in predatory. I'm just butchering this one all to hell. U.S. lawmakers move to rein in predatory behavior of Apple and Google app stores. Oil leaks into, and that, by the way, is kind of cool. What they're essentially trying to do is make it to where it's not proprietary as far as where you get your apps from. In other words, they want to open up the marketplace for these apps so that you didn't just have to, for one, use their payment system, either the Apple Pay or the Google Pay. That's one of the things that they want opened up to other options, but also that, say for instance, these developers, if they wanted to sell it from their own website, the app from their own website, that they be allowed to do that at whatever price they want. Interesting things going on there. So oil leaks into sea as freighter splits in two after running aground in northern Japan. Though China's latest COVID lockdowns are due. Why did I say though? I'm telling you, I'm tired. This coughing, and I'm just tired. Do China's latest COVID lockdowns threaten global economic recovery? RT's Boom Bust investigates. It's a pretty good article. Texas governor says anyone who defies state ban on mask mandates will be taken to court. India fails to send powerful Earth monitoring satellite into space as indigenous engine malfunctions. A jailed opposition figure Navalny faces new charges of violating rights of Russian citizens, potentially adding years to sentence. He avoided double death. Man killed by COVID was spared worse condition because he was fully vaxxed, reassuring report claims. China tightens regulation on online insurance amid wider fintech scrutiny. Was it this one? Yeah. Of course, I just want to make sure you caught that headline. A man died from COVID, but they say that it wasn't worse because he was fully vaxxed. And the only thing that I can think that they could be getting at here is that the person may not have suffered as badly, or at least that's their theory, is that he didn't suffer as badly in the process of dying. I don't know. Oh, I didn't switch this over. I'm sorry. I thought I did that. So yeah. Sorry about that. France shares 670,000 vaccine doses with Vietnam as part of COVAX scheme, Macron says. Unfriendly country, Chechnya? I know Chechnya, but I don't know if that's that. Becomes top importer of Russian defense products, spending $683 million in first half of 2021, says the media. Taliban captured 10th Afghan provincial city Ghazni as insurgents edge closer to capital Kabul. No one is above the law. Met Police warns Prince Andrew as force re-examines sexual assault allegations. British flagged boat with at least 17 on board sinks off the coast of Greek island. PayPal suspends account for buying Persian rug mousepad made in the UK, citing U.S. sanctions on Iran. Yeah. IEA downgrades global oil demand amid resurgence of COVID-19. Oh, by the way, let me back up. Jin Psaki backing up, or circling back. Etsy was involved in this. Etsy was involved in this. And I'm pretty sure it was Etsy, the one that kind of tipped off the whole ordeal. But since PayPal's the payment processor, it's all screwed up how that turned out. That the guy was accused of being the seller of the item, not the buyer, and he was the buyer. And yeah, it was just all screwed up. Foreigners are not above the law. China rejects Canada's opposition to Spavor and Schellenberg rulings. Those were the, well, I know at least one of them is one of the individuals arrested for spying. I'm assuming maybe both of them were. A Vietnamese businessman arrested for printing hundreds of fake COVID test certificates. UK Labour leader grills Conservative government for inadequacy over child poverty during pandemic and pushes for £15 billion recovery fund. Stop obsessing about Moscow and fix human rights violations in your own backyard, Russian embassy in Washington tells U.S. State Department. Which is the second time they've made a statement like that. And I mean like in just real recent days. Canada violating arms treaty by selling sniper rifles and armored vehicles misused by Saudi Arabia in Yemen war, rights group says. Russian hypersonic weapons company chief detained by security services in Moscow on suspicion of passing secrets abroad. Pardon me. Sorry for yawning. This kind of shocked me today. When this headline came out, it kind of shocked me. Interesting, to say the least. Russia hits new grim COVID-19 mortality milestone as more than 800 people died from virus in just 24 hours despite vaccine rollout. Spanish police arrest 71 in hectic multinational drug bust, seizing narcotics, cash, and guns. Let's see. RT reports from epicenter a battle against record wildfires in Russia's Yakutia. Eco-friendly dirt naps, California mulls human composting as green death care option. So now you can opt to be composted. I really am not cool with the direction that they're pushing this planet. And claiming to be doing it for the greater good. Oil spill at Russian marine terminal in Black Sea could be 400 times larger than owners originally claimed, scientists say. South Korean court jails K-pop superstar for 3 years in prostitution embezzlement and gambling scandal. Poland criticized by EU for sending negative signal with media bill restricting foreign ownership. Russia proposes Pfizer test Sputnik Light as COVID booster shot after report of mRNA vaccines lowered efficacy against Delta. Hunter Biden tells prostitute in video he lost another laptop. That makes 3. Containing crazy sex footage and blames the Russians, says a report. Yeah, that's 3 now. Russia's communists to stage nationwide protest against political repression after popular party figure is banned from election. New Zealand announces plan to slowly reopen borders in early 2022 after majority vaccinated. children as young as 3 will have to be tested for COVID-19 before entering public spaces in Israel. CIA expects no revival of Iran nuclear deal, but Americans warn Israeli officials they won't go to war over it, according to the media. By indulging Ukraine's claims to Crimea, West is encouraging country's neo-Nazi government policy, thunders Russian FM Lavrov. U.S. Embassy calls on all American citizens to leave Afghanistan immediately, right after Taliban claims to capture second largest city. Italy fights over 500 infernos across the country as wildfires' death toll rises to 4. A Pakistan bus blast that killed Chinese workers was suicide bombing, says the foreign minister. And I'm not quite sure what happened in Russia, but they had a bus blow up. Homes burned, but no community destroyed. Greek PM defends government response to devastating wildfires. A wake-up call, new Mayo Clinic study shows Pfizer vaccine may only be 42% effective against Delta variant, Moderna 76%. I'm just reading headlines, YouTube. 9 dead, 900 evacuated as northern Turkey hit by intense flash floods. Taliban claims capture of Afghanistan's second largest city, Kandahar, as government forces reportedly withdraw. U.S. Health Department announces public-facing federal health care workers must get COVID jab. Kicked, harassed, shunned 9,000 plus anti-Asian hate incidents reported in the U.S. during the pandemic. Collective punishment, rioters in Turkish capital target Syrian refugees after teen is stabbed to death. A Russian kid's animation becomes world's most popular among preschool children. I guess Masha and the Bear. Gender unicorn trans toolkit tells Colorado teachers to keep kids' identity confusion from parents if the child is over 11. So in other words, if the child's over 11 years old and they think that that child is indicating confusion over their sexuality, then they shouldn't identify the parents. Between 11 and 17, 18, however old when they graduate, it could be either way. $7 years, man. 7 years. The school would keep that or help keep that away from a parent. Only thing I can tell you, no matter how you have to do it, get your kids out of these schools. At this point, that's the only answer. And it's the answer for a whole hell of a lot of problems. I know it creates more issues. I get that. Maybe there's ways people could do this as groups of people. I'm just saying. There's ways. A psychotic even for the Lincoln Project attack ad against anti-mask GOP governors gets slated for using kids as political tool. Well, kind of, they're doing that all now. I mean, I did watch some broadcast TV earlier, and I watched local news, and yeah, they were laying it on thick about kids and COVID vaccines, and they were laying it on real thick. You got to understand, I haven't watched like regular local broadcast TV. I haven't watched television forever. That might be a normal thing for you. And even cable TV or satellite might be a normal thing. It's not for us. Absolutely not. So, for me to actually see the local St. Louis news, very, very, very rare for me. So, I was just, and that's why I watched it. I wanted to see how much propaganda that they were spewing out. And it was thick. It was real thick. And a lot of it used children. At least 3 killed in massive explosion at Pakistani ordnance factory. Passenger bus explodes in central Russian city of Voronezh. U.S. cuts staff at Kabul embassy down to core presence as Taliban closes in. California dad kills 2 young kids because they had serpent DNA and cites QAnon theories. Yeah. Nice. And I know you can't just run and jump to everything that they say, but it does seem like this character was one of them. Walks like a duck, quacks like a duck. 6 people killed in Plymouth shooting, included a suspected gunman. Biden, and by the way, that's over in Britain. Not as in like Plymouth, Massachusetts. Just wanted to make that clear. Biden lauds officials who defy government anti-mandate policies as heroes amid escalating war with GOP over COVID-19 measures. Sorry, I lost where I was. Wow. UK to send 600 troops back to Afghanistan to aid evacuation. My Pillow's Mike Lindell claims he was attacked at pro-Trump symposium as Dominion is cleared to move forward with the suit. Fauci says everyone will likely need COVID-19 vaccine booster shots, even as WHO urges prioritizing doses for poor nations. Fewer white Americans, more Asians and Hispanics. New census data shows U.S. changing dramatically. Pelosi wants Republican leadership to condemn Trump's threat against Ashley Babbitt's shooter. Algeria says 22 arsonists arrested for string of disaster wildfires that killed at least 65. WHO calls on China to release data needed for COVID-19 origins probe, notes that lab theory is still on the table. Biden administration has dumped 400,000 COVID-positive migrants into U.S. cities, former border chief tells newspaper. This stuff is just crazy. And there's a couple more. U.S. Supreme Court declines to block Indiana University vaccine mandate, preserving key precedent for compulsory COVID-19 jabs. That is not good. And then the last one is U.S. Supreme Court partially overturns New York statewide eviction ban. I don't know where we're heading, folks. Just get yourself ready. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. I'm going to relax. Tomorrow's going to involve some flight sim, I guarantee it. I got a, what is that thing called? It's not the Grumman Goose. It's a different plane. It's not the Goose. It's a Grumman. And it's like the Goose, but it's not a goose. And it's not a gander either. And anyway, I'm going to be flying that around Alaska because I can. So I'm going to get out of here and relax the rest of the evening. I hope that y'all can get some can't even speak, some relaxation in. I hope you can get some getting ready in. Just do the things, right? Try to relax a little too, though. We've got a storm coming, and it's going to be one hell of a storm. So if you can get a little bit of relax in, as long as you got things done that you need to have done, get some relax in. Anyway, I hope everybody has a good weekend. God willing, we will see you Sunday. And as always, God bless you. We love you. Be one with your spirit. And shalom.